What if I told you that between you and your greatest opportunity is one single thing that's holding you back? And that's actually your branding. And it probably sucks. Okay, so by the end of this episode, you'll have 3 practical steps what you can do to improve your branding so you are consistent in your message, people know what you're about, and you get to have a fan base that is deeply connected with you. Welcome to the Artful Maestro podcast. I'm your host, Nenad Leonart, a harpsichordist and historical organist that has worked in the social media field for over 4 years, accumulating over 70,000 subscribers, and now coaching and helping other classical musicians do the same. I'm happy that you're listening in to this episode, and today we are going to talk about how your branding is probably hurting your chances at furthering your career down the road, and also how you can, with a few little tweaks, can convert your branding into being something truly artful. Okay, so before we dive into it, I just want to give you a quick note. If you are looking for small gifts to get from musicians, or maybe if you're an organist and you want to get like a historical sample set, go and visit the Artful Shop. The Artful Shop is an online shop where you can get kind of music merchandise, interesting little things to get for a friend, but also a couple other things. And if you go there and use the code Artful5, you'll actually get a 5% discount on your order. So go and check out Artful Shop right now. All right, now starting with this episode, let's talk about why most brands in the artist industry fail. Okay, there are 3 common branding mistakes, which we're going to dive in a little bit deeper right now, and we're going to look at them so you don't make the same mistakes yourself. Okay, the first one of the mistakes, and I see this all the time, this is like whenever somebody comes to me and asks me for a review or an opinion of, let's say, their website or their social media, it's 99% of the time the same thing. You are not consistent in your message. Okay? What is branding all about? It's about communication. It's about setting the stage of who you are as an artist. And if you don't do that in a way that is consistent with your being, that is consistent with how you have already marketed yourself or how people already know you to be, you are going to run into certain problems. Obviously, there's a lot of things wrong with this, but one of the main reasons you can tell is trust. We are wired in a way as human beings that we actually trust the things that are kind of predictable, that we have learned to know. So it's like in a relationship. If you get to know a person, you want to have like a certain predictability on their side so you can actually trust them. So you know that if you tell something to them, they're not going to abuse that information against you, or they're going to run off and tell the others. You know, you like want to have trust with someone, and you can see through their actions who they are. You can tell from their words what their thoughts are, maybe their emotions, so you can get a feel of that person, right? Well, the same thing goes for online media. If you are doing stuff online, if you are putting your brand out there, right? It's the same thing. You want to appear predictable in certain ways so people actually know what you're about. They know that they can trust you and you can build a relationship with them. again, most people are all over the place, so you don't want to do that. You also don't want to be too boring on the other side by always doing the exact same thing over and over again. It's going to be too predictable. And we all know what happens when things are too predictable. Let's say when you play music, people get bored and they tune out. So this is also not something that you want to do. But speaking in terms of a brand, you need to be very clear in your message. And it's going to be the same message over and over again, which means you need to find out who you are as an artist. And you need to find out what your artist identity is, so you can convey these to people. This is one of the first things that I work on with everybody that comes to me, and we have a coaching client relationship. One of the first things that I do with them is ask them, hey, who are you as an artist? Or from marketing terms, there's like a USP, which is a unique selling proposition, that's called. Unique selling proposition is kind of the thing that you are special in. Something that you're really good at or something that nobody else does, right? So it's like unique selling. That's what you're offering, like the selling proposition, okay? USP. Remember this one, that's going to be important for you. Now that we've covered these inconsistencies in the main message, let's go and look at generic visuals, or like the so-called template syndrome, okay? So what this is sometimes people will see like a very cool style or like a template that you can find, I don't know, on Canva or any of the other apps, because there's a lot of great apps that are also made for different types of businesses online that if they need like cheap marketing, they can go there and use those. Well, if you do use these, okay, chances are, especially also if it's not connected to your brand, that it seems kind of either super cheap or completely disconnected from your audience. Right? The whole landscape has shifted. People now value personal connection with the artists. You can see like the emerging artists, the young generation, most of them are extremely active on social media. They're very approachable. They are interacting with their audience, and you don't see them using any of these weird templatey kind of stuff. Like you can tell everybody who's doing that in the online world, it's kind of these people who maybe are attempting to be high achievers, but aren't there yet. They have a quite low follower count, and they're kind of trying to be this brand and to convey authority with these templates, because that's what it used to be back 10, 20 years ago, right? Nobody who was small could actually afford these. So it seemed like, oh, somebody who can afford this kind of expensive branding, they are having success, so I can trust them, right? But that's not what's going on today anymore. Today, people actually, most of them value approachability, they value authenticity, and they value like the realness. So stick to that. Also, the third part that we are going to talk about, what are a very common branding mistake, that's neglecting your own story. Like, you have a unique history of all the things that have happened to you, and maybe you have heard about the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell. That's like a very interesting approach to try and figure out how storytelling works with humans and so on. So this is something that I will go in a little bit deeper in some other type of content, but just for now, the hero's journey is actually a roadmap of how we humans communicate through stories. And you can actually Google it if you want. It's pretty interesting to find out every major book, every major movie, every major script, all the legends from the past, a lot of the stuff in the Bible, everything is written with this template. Now, this template wasn't something that we kind of have created and we said every story has to work this way, but it was actually the other way around. It's something that us humans seems to be wired with. So stories that are told in a specific manner tend to stick more with us. And that is actually the importance that you want to give when you are telling your story, when people are getting to meet you, when people are kind of establishing a relationship with you. You want to go with your story in a very specific pattern so they can relate to you in a way that is very meaningful for both sides. And that's actually the hero's journey. Again, we're going to go into this some other time, but just for now, what you don't want to do is to pretend to be someone else, okay? You want to be your true, authentic self at all times. Second, you don't want to overload other people with information. Usually, you have to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else who doesn't know you, okay? So you can just give them like the main points of who you are. And these are not necessarily maybe the project that you did just like the last 3 months or something interesting that you saw on the way here or some stuff like that, right? You want to stay relevant, but still casual and authentic while telling it. If it's too rehearsed, it's not going to work, right? So just pay attention whenever you introduce yourself, whenever you are supposed to tell your story. As always, practice it a little bit beforehand so it actually makes sense and is relevant to the person that you're talking to. Don't pretend to be someone else and don't be fake. Okay, so at this point, before we dive into the next section, I just wanted to tell you about the Artful Maestro mailing list, which is a mailing list I've created, which is specifically tailored for classical musicians, where they can get like life hacks or little tips that they can apply in their life to instantly get better results in their career, in their online world development, in their skill set that they are using in the modern world. So if you're interested in getting like these small bite-sized chunks of great knowledge, do apply for the Artful Maestro newsletter, the Artful Maestro mailing list. You can find the link down in the description of this episode. All right, let's now discuss the 3 pillars of an actually artful brand, okay? If you want to have a great brand that resonates with people and they connect with you, so they stick around, these are the 3 pillars that you want to pay attention to. You want to be authentic, as I've mentioned before. You want to have clarity, so a very clear message, and you want to be consistent with it. Okay? So let's recap those 3. You want to be authentic, you want to be clear, and you want to be consistent. Let's go back and begin with authenticity. This connects to not trying to be someone else and also knowing thyself, right? So who you are as an artist is largely dependent on who you are as a person. Sometimes you have people who are a very different artistic persona than they are in real life, but as we can see with social media and everything that's going on, these things are coming together more and more. So what you want to have happen for yourself is to find a way how you can express your true authentic self, like who you really are, not pretending to be not someone else or like trying to appease people or trying to fit into a certain group, actually, you're the most charismatic when you are in your own element and you are who you're meant to be, okay? So that's what you want to focus on. And this is a long way. It's a training of weeks, months, years, until you can actually discover your own true inner voice and stay true to it. This is a very intense training that you can also go through. So keep in mind that that's something that you want to strive for the future. Okay, being authentic is going to help you with networking. It's going to help you with establishing a fan base. It's going to help you with creating meaningful opportunities for yourself and for others. And actually also just be great all around you, because I've had some of the greatest things happen to me, just like random acts of kindness or people helping me out of nowhere, or I don't know, like I even had a guy pay my whole stay in a hotel where I was staying for a couple nights because he was just being nice. I don't know, like it's crazy. Just by being who you are, you can actually touch people in a way that is extremely, extremely beneficial. That goes both ways. Clarity is another point that you want to take care of, right? So we've talked about in the beginning where people are all over the place with their brand. You don't want to do that. You want to have like one single idea. Remember the USP, the unique selling proposition? Like that one single thing that you are about. Like, what do you do? And when you have it, there you go. This is what is going to be underlying each and every message that you put out there. So, right, when you are talking to people, when you are creating social media posts, when you are creating programs for your concerts, when you are going into a photo shooting, all of those shall reflect your brand message. Now, what's going to be your brand message? I don't know. It's something that you work a long time on and pretty hard with few people that are professionals and that are good in giving you feedback, right? This can also change a little bit depending on the times. And I highly recommend you work with an actual professional in creating your artist brand, because this is actually going to be the one thing that makes or breaks your career. So make sure to set this up really well. And then again, be clear with it. It's going to be reflected in every sentence that you write. And then we have the consistency. So not always using that kind of message with the clarity, but also just staying consistent in terms of regularly posting, regularly reaching out to people, regularly being on stage, regularly using like all the channels that are available to you in a way so people see that you are there, that you're active. This is, by the way, one of the reasons that I have social media. Maybe you've heard me say, I'm not really a social media person. I am not really someone who cares about exchanging information in a digital world. It's just not something that resonates with me. However, it is something that I know it's a price that I have to pay if I want to do this other stuff. So basically, that's what marketing is, right? It is doing the necessary thing so you can set up the future that you want to have for yourself. And if you think about this, nobody else can really do that except for you. Okay? I know every one of us musicians, me including, we dream of having this agent and somebody who's going to give it everything, create all the platforms for us, do all the posting, do all the messaging, do everything so we can only focus on our art. I get that completely. It's a strong wish that I have as well. The reality of the thing is, though, if you are not putting yourself out there, and if you are not staying strong with your message and with your dream to try and reach all the goals that you have for yourself, nobody's going to come to the rescue. Nobody's going to actually help you reach these goals. And even if it would be cool to have like an agent or a manager, oftentimes you'll see when you employ someone like that, they have their own agenda. They don't really care for you. They want to make money, or they either want to have like other concerts, or it's never going to be about you. And you are actually the only person in this world that really deeply cares about you. So are you going to go and do the necessary thing for you to succeed, to come to the next level? It's up to you to decide. Okay, so why don't we look at a couple of steps that you can take right now so that you elevate your brand? Okay, these are, as I've said in the beginning, few actionable steps that you can do to improve your branding, double, triple, quadruple the efficiency of what you are doing already. Okay, so first, you want to go and audit your online presence as it is right now. Like, write out all the good stuff and write out all the stuff that you can improve on. Okay, and be really honest with yourself. Like, try to scrutinize every little thing and say, this is not really who I am. Maybe this is not something that I'm being super authentic. It's not to blame you or to say that anything's bad. It's just like, as you know, you want to improve, and you can only improve by making mistakes so you can correct them and find the right way. So first thing, go and audit and see what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong with all this new information that you have from today. Second, go into your bio and simplify your message. If you want it to be clear, it's also got to be very simple. So go ahead and use as few words as you can get to describe who you are or what you're about. The third is to invest in high quality visuals if you haven't already. And I'm not talking about this fancy brand stuff or anything, but actually, like, if you don't have good photos, maybe it's time to contact a professional photographer and get a photo shooting done. Same thing goes for videos. If you don't have like a few quality recordings of yourself, at least, either on your website or on your social media or on your YouTube channel, if you don't have those, nobody really cares today at this point. Like, there's so many people out there that have recordings of them. And if you invite them to concerts or whatever, like, you know what you're buying. If you want to get invited by someone to a festival or, I don't know, like, they have to know what they are buying. And this you get by having high quality visuals. And when you have all that, try to go on your social media and show up consistently for 90 days. Why 90 days? That's how much it takes for something to actually become a habit, so it becomes natural to you. So if you do that for 90 days, just like make a commitment to yourself. I'm either going to post a story, or I'm going to do a post, or I'm going to, I don't know, engage with other people, like not just do like a random comment, but to actually engage with them. Do keep posting, because they will mostly see you when you post, okay? If you do that consistently for 90 days, you will be transformed. Now, this is a promise. All the clients that I've worked with who have stayed consistent in their posting, in their showing up in social media, their lives online have transformed, and yours will too. So there's like like a term in German which I cannot really translate into English. It's called like an inner swine dog, which is basically when somebody is too lazy or too afraid or too something to go and do something, right? It's called innerer Schweinehund. If you do have like your inner swine dog, do not despair. You can beat it by just going out and showing up for actual 90 days online and starting to work with your brand. Again, this requires practice. That's why we do it. If you show up over and over and over, you're not just building the habit, but you're actually practicing the skill of putting your artistic brand and your clear message into what you are communicating. This is going to be the basis of everything that you do. This is going to make or break your career. So make sure to go and do this every day. Your brand isn't just a logo or a tagline. It's how people actually experience you. And if you understand this, you are going to have your life and your career changed. To recap what we have said today, what you want to keep away from is an inconsistency in your main message, like generic visuals or the so-called template syndromes, and as well neglecting your unique story. So what you instead want to do is be authentic. So be your true authentic self. You want to be very clear with your message, with what you want to convey. So this also means keeping it kind of short. And you also want to be consistent, which means showing up every day and doing something towards your goals, even if you don't feel like it in the beginning. So if you're ready to take your artistry to the next level, there's something that can also help you with that, and that is by following the Artful Maestro social media channels. Okay, so over there, I do take all these podcast episodes and I take out the main points and put them into short form content so people can actually get what this is all about and have their day enriched with a few new ideas or a few things that they haven't thought of before. And also, what we have, which is pretty brand new, is the Artful Maestro community, where you can actually go inside, you can sign up with your Google account, and it's a free community where people interact with each other. They get to discuss certain topics that we also discuss in the coachings, that we discuss in the podcast, that are like general discussion themes, but also focused on music career, on developing your own marketing, developing your own brand. And there you will find a lot of like-minded people who are on the same path as you are, and you can support each other. So I really love that community. It's a really cool place, and it would be great to see you there as well. Okay, so thank you for listening in at this point. This was today's episode of why your branding probably sucks, but now after all the things that you've learned, I'm sure it's going to develop into a very sophisticated kind of brand that you can be proud of and that you can show to other people. I'm happy to talk to you in the next Artful Maestro episode. And until then, Have a good time.